My name is Patricia. I am a jeweler for the most part. I was one of the Akin members at the Lansdowne Studios, and now I have relocated to Akin King, to one of the spaces here.
And are there drawbacks, like anything you feel you lost?
Momentum. I think that's kind of the biggest one. Is I was in the old space for 5 months before I had to move, like everybody else, and so it just kind of started to get to feel like, okay, we're gelling, like this is the cycle that's happening here, and all of these things are coming together, and then it was just like, you know, the chalk that kind of severed that feeling. And so I think, and that's also been kind of the hard part. It's been really lovely. I've met new people here, which is great, and I've gotten to know people a little bit better. But at the same time, it does seem like it's just kind of this, you know, you reel back in and then start over again, and that's the hard part.
I was thinking about the reason that Akin was able to get this space. Do you have any thoughts about that, about this kind of use of spaces?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have mixed feelings about it, absolutely. And so what this space is another short-term lease. The difference here is that we know that we're not going to have very much time. It wasn't like in the old space where, you know, it was just like, okay, well, here you go, you've got a couple months, clear out, without kind of any warning. Whereas here it is a short-term lease. We know that that's the case. This building is going to be dismantled, and then there's going to be condos built on this property. And so the reason that we were able to get it is because it's essentially sitting empty, and so the landlords were willing to kind of have some life in it in the meantime. I haven't really worked out how I feel about the whole thing. I do have some negative reaction to it because while it's nice that there is space, and I don't think we would ever be able to afford this kind of space if it was anything long term. So that's kind of an upside. But the drawback again is that you never get to sort of settle in properly, right? And there's constantly, like, we know it's a short-term lease. They're thinking, you know, January for sure, and maybe after that. So it's just this constant sense of kind of instability and having to sort of think about what the next step is. And that's a really hard thing when you kind of can't settle into some place and make something happen, because it's just going to get dismantled shortly thereafter anyway.
Do you think that's affecting the kind of work you're choosing to do right now? Are you thinking differently about your work or projects?
I'm not necessarily thinking differently about my work, but it is a stress that I think kind of permeates the day-to-day of how I'm working. So it's not. I don't think it has like a direct impact on what I do, but it is definitely there, kind of at a low level, sort of on a mental level.
Yeah.
In that place.
Yeah. Because you don't have to move again and find another place again.
And the space is beautiful. I have no complaints about it, and it's more space than I've had before. The drawback of that is that it's a lot more expensive. But you know, all things aside, it's a really lovely space, and even in setting it up, you're like, oh great, this is really awesome, and I want to take advantage of it. But at the same time, it's like, oh well, it's not going to be here forever. Or it's not even going to be here for multiple years, you know. So it's like, well, how much of my effort should I spend on actually making this something that is valuable? I still, even though this is a lovely situation, and mostly it's a lovely situation because of the community involved. The fact that Akin was able to find space for other people, the fact that people still want to work here and be part of the collective, and all of that stuff. I still have a profound feeling that the way that artists are treated in Toronto is really unfair and really a lot to ask for a creative city, or of a creative city, and one that that seems to value that aspect of itself, to not have an outlet where people are able to work and have stability, and not have to worry constantly about what the next step is going to be. And on a positive note, collectives are great, and I'm very happy to be a part of one.